say, well, how did this happen? And we have all the speculation. How did Julia Letlow win? Well, I think there's several reasons. Several reasons we can break them down. First, she had President Trump's endorsement. And we can't say that that is a light endorsement. That is huge. That is huge. It's big. A lot of folks trust President Trump in this state. I trust him. So if you don't know much about the election, especially a primary, who's paying attention to that? Not a lot of 17% apparently. And that's 17% of the registered voters, not the population. So it's even lower. But President Trump's endorsement, that carried a lot of weight. For folks that weren't paying attention to it, but they want to participate in the primary, it's a pretty easy measuring stick for those folks, very reasonable. I mean, it still carries enormous weight with the Republican voters, without a doubt. Second, Governor Landry and much of the Republican leadership, at least in the party, lined up behind Julia Letlow. I mean, you had a lot of, you almost have to count the legislators that didn't endorse her. It's a shorter, I think it's a shorter list. I don't know. I don't know. But Governor Landry has, I mean, look, he's the governor for a reason. And I get it. I get it. And third, she won where the votes are. I mean, Julia Letlow carried the major voting centers. And the map shows that. John Fleming carried much of northwest Louisiana, which I saw my boy Justin. He's I don't think he'll mind me saying this. He's a commissioner at the voting place that I vote at. Great job. Appreciate it. Always enjoyed our conversations. But he was the first one that I heard that said up in North Louisiana, you know, would she how would she fare? And this is Northwest. Northeast, you know, it's a little different. But turnout was a big player as well. Again, only about 17%. And in elections like this, that's where organization matters. Getting your people to actually vote, very important, you would think. I don't know how many folks, you know, just didn't vote. Probably 83% of them. But that is pretty low. But it's a primary. It's been so long since we've done one of these. In political time, it's been so long. Historically, not long. But when you have an election like this, your organization matters. Who you have in certain positions to get out there and get the vote out matters. And when you have that much support, the Trump endorsement carries one thing, the organizational support that the governor and his team and his allies politically, that carries a lot of weight. And that could have contributed. Clearly it did. Campaign mechanics. You know, that is reality. That is whether we like it or not. Some like it, some don't. But I do want to say this. This is my opinion. This election result does not mean that conservatives lost. Hear me out. It may mean conservatives lost a Republican primary. But there is a difference. Primary, and I know we all know this, but it's worth saying it again. The primary is where Republicans decide who carries our banner. The general election is where Republicans and Democrats compete for the seat. And it's so true now because we have closed primaries in 5 elections, should be 100% of elections. I don't care if it's dog catcher. That's how these rhinos get in. And some of them stay in because of that too. But at least this way, you know, we kind of vetted it out a couple months earlier. But when we get to that general, it's us versus Schumer. This is no longer, and we'll talk about that, okay? Because the primary and the general are 2 totally different contests. And I know campaigns can be horrible. We'll talk about that when we get to the break, all right? So we'll park and I'll take a little break. When we get back, we'll pick up this subject on the U.S. Senate race. Stick around, guys. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Josh Guillory Show, broadcasting live from the KPEL studios here in Lafayette, Louisiana. Man, I was talking to my dear friend, Dr. Kevin, earlier today, just talking about things. But it made me think of, because I've been involved with his clinic now for a while, and I'm telling you, it's so amazing, the organization, like, because we do a lot in a very little period of time. And it's not, I mean, I'm a creature of habit, guys, and I love my calendar. Maybe it's the military in me, but that way everything's planned out. So I'm just telling you, if you know me, and if I put something recurring on my calendar, and people that have managed my calendar, if you're listening right now, they're like, this dude is for real. He is anal on that. Like, I believe in it. I believe in the value in that. It's not for everybody, but sure can help a lot of folks. Go check him out, 983-CARE, Dr. Kevin's at Dr. Kevin's Wellness Clinic, 983-CARE. All right, guys, man, we're talking about the U.S. Senate race. It's been on the news, or excuse me, the talk radio shows all day. I just got to tell you, everybody knows the election. Everybody knows what happened. Man, I am 100% behind Julia Letlow right now. She is the only one that will be representing the Republican Party, and this is not like the old 10 years ago. Like, this is not where we get a principled vote in. The principal vote is voting against Chuck Schumer. If we can't bring ourselves to vote for Julia Letlow, and I believe in time she will earn trust. I do. I believe that. I genuinely believe that. But if you can't bring yourself to go vote for her, vote against Chuck Schumer. This is not one where we want to sit out. We don't want to protest vote this. I mean, and I'll break it down because I don't want to let this last election go. I'm kind of just getting to the point, and the point needs to be gotten to over and over and over again, because I don't want another situation like Eddie Rispone and Ralph Abraham. Two great guys, two great Republicans, and we end up with a Democrat. So I'm just saying, we have real history right here in the great state of Louisiana. But campaigns are just horrible now. They are. They're horrible. And we shouldn't just forget, but boy, can we process. And there was outside groups, and I know the candidates can't control every outside group, and that is true. It's a genuine statement. Yes, they can do other things, maybe to pipe it down or publicly denounce it. I get all that. I think most folks do. But campaigns today are just horrible. I mean, we see more attack ads than we see anything. And perhaps in the general, that will be different. And the good news about the general election, and now until that day, there's a lot of time. Remember, 83%, just over 83% of voters sat this one out. Probably because they had more priorities in their life than to vote on this. So when we will at least have 4 to 5 months of probably policy discussions. Maybe there'll be the tax stuff. I get all that. But we definitely hit some records, I would imagine, if we're keeping statistics. If text messaging, for all those that consume, if text messaging in this campaign ad was a drinking game, there would be no one driving lawfully. I got more text messages than, I guess because I vote every time. I don't know. Must be on one of those lists. Did you get a lot of text messages?
I did, for like surveys.
Oh, yeah. Okay. See, that's interesting. I didn't get a lot of. I got one.
But I think that's because of the school.
Completely.
Yeah.
See, they could. You're a demographic. They want to know your thoughts.
Yeah, I get a text probably every other day about my political opinion in Louisiana.
What? Yeah,
and it's like $2 Visa gift card if you fill it out.
Whoa! Why don't they send that to me?
Yeah, you can get rich doing that.
Man, if I listen to me, guys. Let me tell y'all something. I have somebody that lives in my house that has a problem. I have plenty of, but this one does, and it's a spending problem. And she's not of age to enter into a contract lawfully. I'm talking about my daughter. See that $2 gift card? That would have been spent before it was in her account or whatever it is. Before it gets, she would have pledged it. She would have pledged it. Now we gave her a little budget. So far it's good, but we're like on week 1, okay? She's still in balance. Anyway, so look, campaigns these days, horrible, all right? Tack ads, all this stuff, TV commercials. You had accusations flying in every direction. Some of it, most of it, went too far. Politics have become so ugly. Lies, deception, creating false realities. It's why it's so hard to find good people that want to run for office, much less be in office. Running for office is probably, well, now once you're in, you got to make decisions. So that's why it's always interesting to see and I'm not saying you can't do it, but it's always interesting to see someone coming from a legislative branch to the executive branch and how the time zones are almost like totally different. The method of your day, the speed is so much different from the legislative body to the executive branch. The executive branch is 24/7 all day, every day, if you care. Legislative bodies, well, by design, or not, don't do that by design. Okay. But all what we saw this last election just now on Saturday, it became ugly. We know that. Republican on Republican hate. But at some point, we Republicans and conservatives must unite, because if not, I'm telling you, we can't let Chuck Schumer pick up a seat. We can't do it. I mean, think about it. Republicans do not have the luxury of spending the next 4 months relitigating the primary. That is only going to vote. That's a step towards Chuck Schumer's and the Democrats' DNC initiatives. We have a United States Senate race to win. And that matters. Think about it. The United States Senate, we're talking about judges. That matters. Immigration, taxes, the Second Amendment, energy, the border. What else? The Save America Act. How about that one? Federal spending. Funding for ICE, funding for Border Patrol. I mean, these are not abstract issues. These are votes that affect every single one of us. And man, when you really think about it, the math in Washington is already difficult enough to get things done. Republicans have a majority in the House. Great. Mike Johnson's doing his part. We have a majority in the Senate, and look what we still have struggled. We still have struggles. I mean, if we put a Democrat in there from Louisiana, you're not getting a conservative vote ever, and you may get a few Republican votes. I mean, it's a narrow majority. Every seat matters. Every seat matters. Every senator matters. You know? Now, what we alluded to earlier, we don't have to pretend that the primary never happened. You know, we don't have to erase any kind of like disappointment or rewrite history. But we don't have to stay angry forever either. And the Republican voters, hey, for a large part, have spoken. Julia Letlow's our nominee. John Fleming fought a principled campaign, and I don't think one thing changes the respect conservatives have for him. But elections are elections. This one's over. It's the first time we've had a primary in a while. The election isn't about settling old scores. I want us to make sure we're doing it. It's about who is casting votes in the United States Senate. You know, but the conservative principles that were debated, they don't go anywhere. They don't go anywhere. But what we need to never go anywhere is more votes for Chuck Schumer and the Democrat agenda in Washington. That is no win for any Republican. That is no win for any conservative. So let's do what we have to do to learn more of what we have to learn on and unite, because that is we have to do that. We have no other choice, as Paul Ryan would say in the 2016 election. It's a binary decision. All right, guys, stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Josh Guillory Show, broadcasting live from the KPEL studios here in Lafayette, Louisiana. We're also broadcasting live on rumble.com. I'm digging that chat. Yes, my spiritual warrior sent me a message, says she loves that chat. I do too. Angry Vulcan, it is hot. We were fortunate with with at least in the Lafayette, southern, southwestern, St. Martin, South St. Landry area, different watershed, but that watershed was okay. You had mentioned flooding, so we didn't get that. Thank God. But prayers to our friends in Avoyelles Parish in the northern part, I think, of St. Martin, if I'm not mistaken, on the Avoyelles side. Just prayers that they're working through it. I saw President Bellard, too, out of St. Landry doing some things. So, all right. Well, look, just everybody up there, appreciate that. But, yes, this area, for the most part, all good. So we certainly appreciate that. All right. Now, let's keep talking about this U.S. Senate race. Okay. So, hey, we have no choice. Phone lines are open, by the way. 232-1542-844-766-6607. Let me hear what you got to say about that U.S. Senate race that just happened. Look, man, that was a heated race. It was a horrible election cycle. Glad to see that over. But we have no choice right now. No reasonable choice. As a Republican, as a conservative, the choice is Julia Letlow or Mr. Davis over there, Jamie Davis. And look, this has the ingredients for Jamie Davis to win. I'm not kidding. We saw it before with that Ralph Abraham and Eddie Rispone. Okay, John Bell. We saw it the first time with David Vitter and others. You know, John Bell Edwards, Governor Edwards played that perfectly. No one knew about him until the runoff. No one knows about Jamie Davis until the runoff. And that was a great example. It's a great ingredients. It was such a narrow path for a Democrat to win the governor's seat, and he just trailed it very, very wisely. And the Republicans had so much infighting that, well, we saw it happen. And then again in 2019, we saw again just a split party. And now, when you have somebody who comes across, I don't know Jamie Davis. I don't think I do. But from what I'm reading and what I'm gathering, very charismatic guy that's going to say some things like he's against carbon capture. Well, great. Until Chuck Schumer tells him not to be. You don't listen. We don't have any term limits. You don't get to make the calls that big, like on those big things. You don't get to make those calls until you're in leadership. That's just the way it goes. I mean, you have a few one-offs every once in a while. There's a few principled senators. Hey, Rand Paul's principled. I don't always agree with some of the extreme measures, but he's passionate and he has conviction in what he says, and I certainly appreciate that. But we can't fool ourselves. This is Republican versus Democrat. This ain't local. This ain't state. This is federal. This is Washington. You got 8 people running the show over there in the Senate. Actually, probably 4. 2 on one side, 2 on the other. Same thing on the House. 8 people telling everybody what to do. You can add your flavor to legislation here and there. You can help with administration, on the administrative side, working through the executive branch. But man, we have got to be careful. So let's just put our heads together now. Put our minds right, and let's go fight for a Republican seat. Okay. And to my Democrat friends, well, y'all go fight for yours. Everybody love each other. All right, let's move on. We're gonna move on to Washington some more. We'll stay there. Man, Washington has plenty of excuses, as we know. And Americans at this point, I think we're beyond screaming that we want results. Because we have that conversation all the time. We have our own conversations within our own party. Maybe, but Democrats right now, they're at some crossroads too. They have their factions on their side. See, right now, we feel factioned here in Louisiana because we just came off of a very heated Republican primary. Had some Republicans throwing some political nukes at each other. That's going to take some time to heal. But heal we must. Heal we must. But you're getting, I think right now what we're seeing in New York is absolutely wild. Okay, last week, recall what we talked about with Zoran Mamdani and the Democrat Socialists of America, the DSA, taking over parts of New York City. We discussed that. Well, that was not the end of the story. Turns out that was just the beginning. The Democratic Socialists of America wasted, I would say, exactly 0 time celebrating. Within hours of their victories the other day, they posted this online. Today, the East Coast. Next week, the Mountain West. I'm telling you. And before they even said where they're going, I knew it was going to be Colorado. I don't know why. Met some good folks from Colorado. I was in Fort Carson, Colorado I always butcher and say Fort Carlson because I my dear buddy, but it's Fort Carson. We were on we were on the range with some night vision goggles on one night, and all we'd see was these little gophers come up. Pretty interesting. Don't shoot the gophers. They're friendly till they're not. But yeah, today the East Coast, next week Mountain West. I mean, this is let's let that sink in here a little bit, okay? I mean, these guys are telling us exactly what they're doing. They're not trying to win New York anymore. They're trying to remake the Democratic Party. They're trying to remake the Democrat. Put them on hold. They're trying to remake the Democrat Party across America. And as I mentioned, their first stop is Colorado. All right, we're going to take us a tiny little break. We'll pick back up on this possibly. And again, phone lines are open. I can't wait to hear from you to talk about the U.S. Senate race. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Josh Guillory Show, broadcasting live from the KPEL studios here in Lafayette, Louisiana. We're also broadcasting live on rumble.com. Man, go check out my friends over there at rumble.com. Look up the Josh Guillory Show, and you can see all those folks chatting. We certainly appreciate you. And also, while we're giving shout out to my friends over there at Giles Subaru. You see the Subarus all over. You see the national commercials, man. Go check them out here in Lafayette, Louisiana, right off of Johnson, right on Johnson Street, near Ambassador Caffrey. Very easy to access, very easy to get in and out. You know, you think Highway 167, but no, very easy. I love that. And, you know, not only do they have the wide variety of Subarus here in Lafayette and Giles Subaru, but also they got a dog park in the back. So bring the dog, big dog, big breed, small breeds. They have a little separator. They have a dog washing station. Go check them out. We're talking about the U.S. Senate race that just went down here in Louisiana. And I want to hear your calls, man, 232-1542. Let me hear what you're saying. We're going to go to my boy Kish. And I asked Kish to join us here. He's been in the trenches here lately. Hey, Kish, what's going on, buddy? She's much prettier than me. No. Yeah. Well, I know, look, Kish, I know you were out there, brother, man. Thank you so much. Thanks for calling in to give us a little update. And, you know, it's pretty cool in perspective to be in the war room with Dr. Fleming and any candidate. Yeah, it's Kiss, kiss. Oh my gosh! I hope he posts that. Okay, Tim Metcalf is taking it upon himself. Kiss, thanks for thanks for calling in, brother. I appreciate you. Yeah, so he takes it upon himself. He's now doing city work because the city won't do it. Anyway, all right, let's go to Sean real quick. Very patient. All right, Sean. Sorry about that. We got about a minute left, man. What's up, buddy? Ooh. Mhm. That's right. Whew. Well, Sean, we're at a hard break. I certainly appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much. Hey, look, yeah, but there's more positive. I'm telling you, I'm in and on a positive because there's much more positive in this state than there is negative. We got some good things ahead of us, and right now, I'm telling you, I hear where you're coming from. A lot of folks close to me, and yours truly, I get it. But we cannot vote for Chuck Schumer. We can't sit it out, and we must vote Republican. Vote for Julia Letlow. All right, guys, stick around. We'll be right back. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to hour number 2 of the Josh Guillory Show. So happy to be with you. I remain your very grateful host. And in studio with me still, my buddy over there, Parkity Park. What's up, Park?
What's up, Josh?
Man, you had such a great weekend, didn't you?
I did. I had a very fantastic weekend.
You went to work, and tell us about your little trip.
I went to work in the great state of Alaska. My 50th and final state that I had to venture to.
Is that really your 50th state? You've
state.
gone to all 50 states.
All 50.
Now you got to work on the territories.
No, I called my dad and I was like, Dad, I don't know many 22-year-olds who have been to all 50 states, and he was like, I don't know many people that have been to all 50.
You might be the only person.
Well, I mean, I'm beyond blessed, so it is very much a blessing. We would hike in the middle of the night because the sun never went down. So we work all day, hike all night. Because we were only there for 3 days, so it is a 14-hour plane ride, so got caught up on the sleep on the plane.
I bet so. 14 hours. Wow. Yeah, that's not a quick flight.
Not at all. No.
But it could be worse. All right, we had this nice gentleman hold over from the last hour, and I appreciate it. Let's go to Monty. Mate, what's up, Monty? Great. I can hear you, Lima Charlie. Because he seems loud. As long as it's recording. Thank you. Woo! Yep. Well, and Monty, look, man, I think there's a whole bunch of people that feel that way right now. And I'm just, if we hadn't gone through the John Bell Edwards experiment and experience, then I would have maybe a different, maybe we wouldn't see something like this coming. But I'm telling you, Jamie Davis has the same ingredients. He has a very, very thin line to victory, a very thin path. But my fear is that he can actually walk it. I'm with you. I don't think a lot of folks are going to go vote Democrat, but enough folks might sit out. And you know what, Monty? It is up to the candidate, and it's up to educate and convince and earn your trust. And I think this is just me. If we're open minded, got an open heart, I do think Julia Letlow will at least be able to put your mind at ease. Maybe not, that principled stand up against the administration, on principle grounds, but way better than the Democrat option. What do you think? Exactly. Audio good? All right, Monty. Hey, brother, I appreciate you. Thanks for taking the time to call. And yeah, don't get mad at me. Clay's a big boy. I asked him to guest host, and I don't put handcuffs on my guest host there. If he wants to say that, he can say that, and he can defend himself. And I think what Monty just said, I think knowing Clay, I think he will enjoy the next few months just talking with constituents and saying where he came from and why he made that decision to endorse. And look, a lot of folks were doing it. Wasn't just him. And I'm not. And please, anybody that's just really really hurt by this election and really confused and really down, and feel a lot like Monty did and a lot of folks did. I get it. I'm not. Man, please don't take my words as I don't understand and I don't see where you're coming from, because I do. I'm living everything with you, and I feel that if I didn't feel this strongly, I wouldn't be here on day one saying what I'm saying. But I really do believe that Jamie Davis can absolutely win this election. And if you are interested in standing up against Chuck Schumer and the DNC platform, even if you don't like this nice lady, go vote for the party. And I'm not a big party, vote for the party, just vote for the party. But this is the United States Senate. This is not like 1994, 1996, 1998. This is 2026. And right now, you have, remember, a congressperson, whether in the House or the Senate, has two primary functions, basically. Yes, it's to represent our interest in Washington. They do that via vote. If they did it via interview, we'd have a lot more positive legislation, but they do it by vote. but the other part of that is the administrative part, navigating through the bureaucracy. And if that's, back in the day, you could vote for someone that can navigate through the bureaucracy and be principled in their, in their voting philosophy. But we're not there right now. We're just going to keep the phone lines open. I love it. Let's go to Mr. Blue Wave. That's the top guy. Let's see here. What's up, Mr. Blue Wave? Okay. Mr. Blue Wave, you really think? Hey, all right. So look, you did make this prediction. You're very accurate on your predictions. Now, Jamie Davis or Julia Letlow, who's winning? Come on now. Come on, Mr. Blue Wave. And and he said it early too. I got you back. Yes, sir. You got to stop saying that. Folks on my side are not going to vote if you keep telling them that. I love you. You're good, Mr. Blue Wave. You're good. Hey, guys, if you're on hold, just take a tiny little moment. We'll be right back. We'll come straight to you right after the break. 232-1542. I want to hear from you. Let's talk about this U.S. Senate election and so much more. There's so many things happening out there. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Josh Guillory Show, broadcasting live from the KPL Studios here in Lafayette, Louisiana. Park, guess what? Pizza of the month at Dino's, shrimp scampi.
Boy, is it good.
Dude, I didn't even. All right, so I found out about it. I try to keep up, but I found out this month's last week, and so, I had to go try it. And it is crazy how much ingredients they can put on one piece.
No, Tim brought my first day. Tim brought me some. Man, I think I ate the whole thing.
And then you thought every day was like that, so it's like the bar was set really high.
First day I had wings. He brought me wings, ribs, pizza. I haven't seen it since.
So maybe it's Tim is my dear friend, one of my really close friends, and I just don't think he likes to bring us food. Maybe it's the time of day.
I don't know, because he did bring that in the morning.
That's true.
That was a morning. That was a little 9 a.m. shrimp scampi pizza.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
And then if he goes later in the show, he can always help Carol too. So by the time it gets to us, it's
Well, there probably would have been some left over that day, but I think I ate it all.
Yeah, you just crushed it. So go to Dino's, guys. Check it out. All right, man. Let's go back to the phone lines. Rare occasion. We're just gonna keep them open. I appreciate everybody's feedback. I like everybody's thoughts on this U.S. election situation. All right, whoever you press. All right, Sean. What's up, brother? Woo. Yes. And you could thank the Senate leadership. Yeah. Now, you give it time, Sean. Give it time, Sean. It'll be all right. It'll be all right. Okay, so a lot of folks are agreeing with that, and I get all that, but nah, just give it some time, and once we heal, and once we can look past that, we got to unite. We can't give Schumer and them a victory. It's hard enough to get victories. Look at the Save America Act. And I blame the Senate Republican leaders on that, specifically the leader. And you got the House, I think they said it would be the fourth time that they would approve it. And the Senate's over there making every excuse not to. All right, let's see here. Who you going to? All right, let's see here. Jerry, what's up, Jerry? Go for it. You know, no, thank you, Jerry. I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you. So, all right, man, a lot of folks are agreeing with Jerry on that, and I'll replay. I'll summarize it for our streaming audience. Basically, carbon capture. He's upset about, and a lot of folks are nervous. Not just upset; they're nervous. Some beliefs there on maybe certain folks benefiting from it. Time will play. It's we'll just have to see on that. But I just don't see that going anywhere. I think the whole look. This is just my opinion. This is my opinion. I don't think carbon capture really goes anywhere in my opinion, legislatively, because they can't pass anything hardly. So I think it would have to come through administrative law, which is not always strong legally, meaning the Trump administration or the next administration through agencies and through administrative rules could enact certain things to further that. I could be totally wrong. I could be totally wrong. I don't know what Congress is mail. I guess it is interstate commerce. I was going to say, well, isn't this a state issue? I think predominantly it is. But anyway, let's go, caller. Caller, you're live on the Josh Guillory Show. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's up, Scott from Plaisance? What's happening, baby? Yeah. Well, a lot of. Go ahead, Scott. We have some wrinkles to iron out. Is that fair? Is that a fair? We got some. Yeah. Well, and I appreciate you, Scott. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. All right, so a lot of folks probably, or at that crossroads. And this is just the day after, or 2 days after, first day we've been together. And it's normal to feel this way right now. I mean, in a primary, especially Republican on Republican, you're like, no way, man, this is the model for a Republican candidate. So when the other person wins, it seems like, because it's in the family, those wounds, they cut deeper. They cut deeper. Hopefully they didn't cut so far that folks just sit this one out. We've had some callers, or at least a caller, say that seems to be like a reasonable option. And you have other callers, just just now, and Scott from Plaisance. I mean, it's two choices. Vote for a Republican, Julia Letlow, and maybe we're upset a few times, maybe so, I don't know. Or vote for the Democrat, and maybe you're happy a few times, but you're upset most of the time, because that really is what the best you can hope for. Because there's no way that Chuck Schumer allows anything to happen with this senator if they start voting Republican. I mean, they're trying to look what they're doing. Look what they're doing to my boy Fetterman over there. I'm just saying. But Fetterman's standing his ground. I just don't think that we're facing that. We just got to stop giving Democrats seats here from Louisiana. We need to, maybe we're correcting that. We had a good court ruling. The legislature at least acted on it. All right, here we are. So we're going to take a little break. We'll keep those phone lines open when we get back. Don't you go anywhere. Welcome back to the Josh Guillory Show. Man, go check out my friends over there at Giles Subaru. They even got a dog park there. It's amazing. Big breed, small breed, you know, all the things. But go check them out. Subaru, you see it all over. You see those models all over the place. That make. But you also have an extremely competent is not even the right word. Service department, maintenance department. So when you go in and you bring your Subaru, man, they're going to leave that vehicle in a better condition than when you dropped it off. It's just kind of what they do. It's what they live by. It's their mantra. So go check them out. Giles Subaru, right on Johnson Street, Highway 167, right by Ambassador. You can't miss it. Beautiful, beautiful showroom. Actually, one of the cooler showrooms. Go check it out. All right, let's go back to the phone lines. Let's see here. Let's go to, all right, caller, you're live on the Josh Guillory Show. What's your name? Where are you calling from? That's you, baby. Is this my buddy? That's you, caller. Oh, hello, caller. Yep, that's you, caller. Go ahead. What you got? That's okay. What's your name? Where you calling from? We can put you back on hold and try it again. What's up, Jock? Talk to us, baby. All right. We're going to put you on hold. Hang tight. All right. That's okay. Call back in, Jock. All right, let's go to this young man. I think it's my buddy, Justin. What's up, Justin? Good to see you. Yes. So you're saying they're going to be there for a hot minute? Thank you. Yes, I'm with term limit these folks, man. Justin, what do you think? 6 years, 12 years for a senator? Ooh, okay. All right. I was saying just in general term limits. What do you think? 6 years or 12 years? Yep. Ooh, 3. See, I would even compromise with 6 with the House just because 12 and 12 to make it even. But I wouldn't be mad at anybody if they made 3 terms. Think about that. That's when leadership would truly be leadership because you know that's a 6 year period. Like you got to prove your worth to be there and get leadership at that point. All right, we're gonna go to the next call. Thanks, Justin. Appreciate you, buddy. All right, let's see. I think that's Jock. Let's go to my friend Jock. All right, guys, go ahead, Jock. You're live. Well, we hear you loud and clear. Well, just call us back, Jock. Just call us back, bud, because we're gonna get that feedback too. Call us back. Look, I know that guy, and he is a good dude, very much in the know. We're gonna take us a tiny little break. When we get back, we're gonna figure that out. Shorter break than normal, but that's okay. We'll have a longer segment to end out the show. We certainly appreciate you guys. Be right back. welcome back to the Josh Guillory Show. We are broadcasting live from the KPEL studios here in Lafayette, Louisiana. Also broadcasting live on rumble.com. Let me check you out. All right, here. Man, my boy Jacques, give us a call back, man. I certainly appreciate this gentleman. He's in the Letlow camp, so he can at least give us some thoughts. I was happy to hear from Kish earlier. He was inside the Fleming camp, kind of war room, and just to kind of see the differences. And I don't know, thought it'd be a good little conversation. Parker, are you tired of talking about this topic today?
Not too bad.
That's good.
It's been a little different than it has been because I guess it's after opposed to before, but yeah, at least it's something a little different. But today hasn't been too bad.
No, not at all. Let's stay on this topic though on election day. All right. Election day, because the Supreme Court just issued a rule. Actually, the Supreme Court has been busy, and I know Joe has some good things to talk about. He'll break down a lot of these Supreme Court cases on his show. It's my understanding today after this show, and let's talk about Election Day. So the Supreme Court handed down kind of another common sense decision. You kind of like, why are we even talking about this? So this is the legal question that the court was answering. What does Election Day actually mean? Now, I don't think that's hard. I don't think that's hard for most folks. What does Election Day mean? When is Election Day Election Day? Now, this is great, though. I mean, I have got to applaud this litigation and who raised it up the chain of command. And great deal here. Listen, guys, we have to call this for what it is. We are clarifying some really tough phrases lately, some really thought-provoking legal questions as of late. You may recall the Supreme Court told us that the other day that someone has not arrived in the USA until they've arrived in the United States. We need a law saying that. You're not here in America until you're actually here in America. We needed a Supreme Court ruling for that. That is bizarre. So, yes, here's what happened on this one. Mississippi, our dear friends to the east from where we're broadcasting at. Oh, Mississippi allows mail-in ballots that are postmarked by Election Day to be counted even if they arrive several days later. That law in Mississippi was challenged, and the Supreme Court upheld it in a 5-4 decision. The interesting part isn't maybe who won, it's the why, okay? So Justice Barrett, Amy Coney Barrett, Trump appointee, wrote for the majority. She said federal law sets a deadline for when a voter has to cast a ballot. But it doesn't say that every ballot has to be physically received by Election Day. In other words, if you voted on time and mailed your ballot on time, the state can count it after Election Day. Justice Samuel Alito saw it very differently. He argued that if ballots keep arriving after Election Day and those ballots can still change the outcome, then the electorate's final choice hasn't actually been made on Election Day. That's the legal disagreement. And I think it's a fair question for sure. But before we get there, let's go to this caller. Let's take her in. Caller, you just hung up on us. Doggone, about to go to you. So, again, Mississippi ballot, all the things, okay? Justice Scalia, or Samuel Alito, he is dissenting, to say the least. He argued that if they're counted after Election Day, well, come on. So, let's see here. Most Americans hear the phrase Election Day. I think we would all assume we know the winner when Election Day is over, right? I mean, that's most American hears that and assume they're gonna be projected just like on Saturday. We knew Election Day was Saturday. It was a reasonable expectation that we would know the winner that day. But many states have different rules. It's one part of the beauty of our republic. Some require ballots to be in hand by the close of polls. Others allow ballots that arrive later, as long as they were mailed by election day. Okay. Now, today's decision says, well, federal law doesn't prohibit that second approach. Now, Congress could change the law if it wanted to. States can also make different policy choices within the bounds of federal law. You can't compete with federal law. That's the supremacy clause, but you can make different, like I said, policy choices or regulatory requirements within the federal law. Congress could change the law if it wanted to, like I said. But the Supreme Court's job wasn't to decide which system is better. That's what Justice Barrett wrote, okay? The Supreme Court's job wasn't that. Its job was to interpret what Congress actually wrote. And that's where Justice Barrett was coming from. Justice Alito said, "Are you kidding me? That is crazy. Come on. You keep up with this part? You like all this Supreme Court stuff?"
It's not my favorite.
It can be kind of boring. I got to give my boy Joe, though. He does a good job explaining these cases. You know, this is a case, it came across, got my attention just because we just had an election, and this is another question that seems pretty straightforward. Now, the court, I didn't know where the court was going to go, but I think it's very telling that it was a 5-4 decision. Very, very telling. So you had two justices, Barrett and Kavanaugh, that went with the liberal justices or the left-leaning justices. This was, I don't know how much philosophy's in there. I think the three justices on the left maybe got there one way, and then these two justices, Barrett and Kavanaugh, probably were just looking at it from a sovereignty standpoint, a state sovereignty standpoint, saying the federal law says here's when election day is. We don't think it's unfair if you get the votes in by that time period that you're good. But I don't know. I mean, this is definitely one of these cases that caught my attention. Now, let's go to another really, really exciting topic, okay? Actually, I'm going to skip that one because we don't have that much time. I'm going to stay in Louisiana. All right, Governor Landry, he just sent a message to Orleans, okay? And I think this message to New Orleans is well overdue. And it's basically get your financial house in order first before you start going to beg the rest of the state for all this money. I mean, look, that's what it's really about. It's about money. I mean, the headlines are going to say, and they do say, Governor Landry vetoed more than $36 million in projects connected to New Orleans. You're going to hear all that. Critics immediately, when he did that, called it a political retaliation. We barely touched on this Friday, but I've seen it over the weekend. The governor says it's fiscal responsibility. I think it is too, and I think it's fairness as well. I mean, let's before the left maybe attacks the governor on this, and maybe before he gets some flack here, let's look at what actually got cut. Okay. In New Orleans. Now, this is your state dollars. This is your state tax dollars. Our state tax dollars that we send to Baton Rouge. Here's what got cut. A proposed new city hall. Now, why are the voters in Lawtell, Louisiana, paying for New Orleans City Hall? That's crazy. He cut millions for an integrated healthcare hub. Let me translate that. Cotton is being paid. And I'm sure there's some good things that come from the healthcare hub. I get that whole idea. But my goodness, if you can't do it, city, why should other residents have to pay for yours? But why don't you put a healthcare hub in all the cities? Why just New Orleans? New Orleans has bigger population. You should have more tax money coming in. I'm pretty confident you do. Governor also He cut funding for the Ellis Marsalis Center for Music. I'm sure a wonderful institution, but no state dollars going this year. Not for that. Money for a stadium, funding for the Orleans Parish Sheriff's Office. I get it. There's sheriff's departments that work with the state, and facilities, sometimes that does make sense to use some state dollars. I get it, but not right here, not when they're, basically it's this, the governor's saying, you're asking for all this money. Always, every year you come back to the trough. But we've noticed that you don't have your fiscal house in order. So it's really not fair or respectful to the rest of the taxpayers in our great state outside of New Orleans to fund these projects. We're talking $36 million for a budget in Orleans Parish. That's not a lot. Not if you get your fiscal house in order. And that's what the governor's saying. And he's probably looking at recurring costs. That's what I would be looking at. One-time capital funds, totally different. It's that year, you use zero-based budgeting. And that's what local governments are supposed to do. Don't spend more than you have coming in. The state does that too. That's why they have all these forecasts and meetings and between sessions to go over their revenue forecast. Sometimes that can get a little heated. But the governor's argument is that all these taxpayers across the state should not be writing checks for new projects in New Orleans while New Orleans basically struggles with the basics. I mean, the city has faced major budget problems. It had to borrow money. It's received state assistance for how long? And it continues dealing with serious challenges involving crime, infrastructure, looking at the financial management. I thought the troop NOLA that the state put in there with state police was a good call, hyper-focus on that area. I think that warrants that. But there's way more than just crime. So the governor's asking a very fair question, if you think about it. Should taxpayers in Lake Charles, in Lafayette, in Shreveport, in Bossier, Alexandria, Monroe, all these places, should everyone else in Louisiana be paying for another city's wish list before that city gets its own finances under control? And until then, I think this is, otherwise you're just throwing it into the pit deeper and deeper. Guys, that's all the time we have today. Doggone, Park, you can't give us some more time when we're having fun. Jeez, okay, he's smiling over there. All right, guys, thank y'all so much for joining us. We had a blast. Can't wait to visit with you tomorrow. Be careful out there. May God bless you and be kind.